Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Final day for us from SEC Media Days. G. We had a good week, a lot of information, a lot of processing, a lot of hype. It's been kind of tough to sift through it all, but we're going to do our best here today. Let's just jump right into it, G. They got a lot of pressure on a lot of teams. Who do you think, in terms of overall stock, let's say, whose stock necessarily kind of fell this week, and then who has the most pressure this week, in your opinion?
I think LSU stock is definitely rising when you talk to different people in the media. Jordan Rodgers, you heard Roman Harper talk about him. Well, not really Roman Harper. Roman Harper, I think he had him third or fourth on his list.
Chris Doering predicted him to win the Natty.
Chris Doering, and you had a couple of other people in the media that thinks LSU has a real shot to win the SEC. What you're starting to hear from a lot of people in the media here is that Texas is not as good as people think they are. I think a lot of people are riding the Arch Manning train. Which look, I understand and I get it. The last name, you know, he has all the tools and the measurables to be a really good quarterback. But coming in as a first-year starter, that's going to be tough in the SEC, bro. It's not like he's going into the Big Ten or the ACC where he's going to have 4 or 5 games on the schedule where he can kind of figure it out. That's not going to happen in the SEC. He's going to have to get it and figure it out quick. First game of the season, I think, where they play Ohio State.
Yep.
That's going to be tough, bro. That's going to be tough. So, and then when you talk about the weapons around him, at the receiver position, Wingo comes back. You have a couple other guys that's talented, but they don't have a lot of proven guys in the receiver room. Tight end either. Now, I think what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to rely on the running game with Baxter and Wisner. And I think that's what you're going to see Sarkisian do this year. Try to rely on the running game and then let Arch get his big plays off of play action. So if I had to guess, man, and really process what everybody's been saying since we've been down here in Atlanta, and Texas has been the team that kind of like seemed like their stock is dropping, and LSU stock it look like it's rising. And that's not me being biased.
Yeah, I'm taking the modest approach with the Arch Manning hype. I'm not going to get too high. I'm not going to get too low. I like what Jordan Rodgers said about him probably having the highest floor in a sense where you already know what you got with him, and he's not going to really just shit the bed, quite frankly. Like, I feel like Arch is still capable. Now, will there be growing pains? Yeah, and no doubt. I mean, I feel like, quite frankly, he's not even going to enter the NFL draft after this season. I feel like he'd have the potential to be able to even, for sure, lock down a number one pick in the NFL draft, whether it be 2027 or whatever the case may be. I still do feel like Texas, in my opinion, is the most complete team, though, because you got my next best pick would have been Georgia, but you hear Kirby Smart talking about that 54% thing that we keep talking about, first-year player, second-year player. And then, yeah, Gunnar Stockton could have the team around him, but it's just in terms of like a chemistry, in terms of support, you could have the team around him in that regard. I'm just wondering though, like if those were the two teams battling out last year, and one of them returns a decent amount of production, the other one is sitting there, half of it's gone. I want to know how they're going to be able to handle that aspect of it. I'm gonna stay safe. I think I still got Texas as my favorite. Now, there's a lot of football left to be played because I do think that LSU could bounce in there. Now, it's going to require a lot of things to be answered. Obviously, the offensive line, and we don't even have to get into that because of all the things that we've said about it. But I really do want to see what Blake Baker and his defense can put together, because if you can put Nussmeier in a situation to not have to always have a 70-yard drive, 60-yard drive, sometimes, hey, let's get the ball in plus territory and then chop a couple possessions off. Those are going to be the things that I think are key for LSU if their success.
And the fact of the matter is, everybody in Atlanta right now thinks their team is really, really good. And it's supposed to.
You have to.
You see them every day. You just went through spring ball. You're watching them from your balcony, doing PRP practices. You think your team is really good. You're not going to find out how good your team really is till probably around week 4, week 5. And so you see all the confidence from all the head coaches. You see the confidence from the players. The biggest thing for me is who is returning starting quarterbacks. Yep. And I'm gonna keep sticking to that thing, bro. Lenore Sellers with South Carolina, Garrett Nussmeier with LSU, DJ Lagway with Florida. We could talk about the quarterback from Vanderbilt, but I don't think Vanderbilt's going to be in the mix when we're talking about who's going to win the SEC. So I'm going to stick with those 3 guys. And I think that means something. It's a quarterback-driven sport, bro. You need somebody at that position that's seen it, that's went through it, experience is the best teacher. And I'm not saying that Florida or South Carolina or LSU is just for sure going to win the SEC, but they should be in the mix when we start talking about who can win the SEC.
Yep.
Just on that strength alone. And they have really talented teams. You know, South Carolina got some talent around Lenore Sellers. We just got to see if he's going to take that next step. And I think he can. DJ Lagway the same way. You see all the talent there. You see the physical specimen inside of him. But you got to see, can he take that next step this year? Same thing with Garrett Nussbaum. He had some really good games last year. He had some bad games last year. You know he has all the talent to get it done. But you got to see him do it. But if you, I think it was Matt Flynn yesterday. He said the biggest progression you see from a quarterback is from year 1 to year 2 as a starter.
And he said that if they don't make that progression, it might not happen.
Exactly. So I think that boils to be true. So in my mind, I think Lenore Sellers is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC next year. DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussbaum, and I think everybody else after that could still be pretty good, but I think they're going to fall behind those 3 quarterbacks in my mind.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching all the statistics and them talk about leaders from last season, and obviously it's not directly going to translate, but to Lenore Sellers' point, dude led the team in rushing, dog. That ability reminds me of somebody like Jaden Daniels. I'm interested to see how all of them put their cape on this year. Let's talk SEC MVPs. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to pick 2. I'm picking 2, G. I'm going to say Garrett Nussbaum if LSU can make that playoff, because I don't think LSU can make a playoff without him under center. If you had a Michael Van Buren there could be a lot more games that you could chalk up as an L. Sure, you got Clemson, Ole Miss, South Carolina, yada, yada, yada. You got tough games. But if they're going to be able to get to 10 wins, maybe 11 wins, it's going to have to be because 13 or maybe 18 has a hell of a clinic of a season. My backup option, you're going to like this one. Let's say Florida gets 9 wins. You have to credit that entirely, quite frankly, to DJ Lagway. Now, yeah, there's going to be some defensive presence. And, yeah, there's going to be some magic in the coaching booths. And Billy Napier is going to put his scheme hat on. But if they really will be a sleeper, it's all going to be because of him.
So that's your 2 MVP candidates for the SEC?
That's my favorites. If I had to make odds, if I'm an odds book sitting right here, that's going to be the 2 guys I got, number 1 number 2.
You can't go wrong with those odds, bro. Nussbaum, Lagway, and Lenore Sellers, it's going to be one of them 3, in my opinion. I just don't see no other quarterback in the SEC having that type of year. Again, let me reiterate what I just said. I'm not saying that no other quarterback in the SEC can have a good year.
Right.
I'm saying when you start talking about being one of the best in the SEC and being at the top, I think those 3 quarterbacks going to lead the ship this year. And if they don't, I'll be very surprised.
I will say this, though, talking about Arch Manning, and yeah, he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of people around him in terms of support system, and that's everything in this regard in terms of handling pressure, being mature, growing, yada, yada, yada. I feel like he's got a good level-headed confidence right now. Like, he's not getting too high, he's not getting too low. Don't matter what anybody's saying about it. They could be giving him a preseason Heisman. They could be saying they're the national championship favorites, or then they could be saying that they're not going to do anything. It doesn't fluster him. Talk about that mindset and then where you think it comes from and how you think it's going to be able to help them going on this year.
Bro, he's been around it all his life.
Some champions.
Yeah. Eli, Peyton, his grandfather, his dad, Cooper. Like, this dude been built for this since he came out of mother womb. And I think he knows going into this, it's going to be some growing pains. I think he knows there's going to be some bumps in the road this season. What Arch is trying to get out of this season is he's just trying to put his team in position to where he doesn't do anything to lose it.
Right. Yeah.
I think he's going to rely heavily on that running game like I just talked about. I think Sarkisian is going to put him in position where he doesn't have to make all these throws to make sure they win games. Now, look, it might come down to some games where they down by a possession or 2, and he might have to whirl them back. But to put him in the best position possible, lean on that running game, try to take your shots off play action, and make sure you play good defense and have really good special teams. I think if they do that, Texas can mess around and get 9 wins, possibly 10, possibly. And I think that'll be a solid season for Arch. Then he comes back next year, and now he's the guy. He's the person that everybody's talking about. He's the Heisman Trophy candidate coming into the preseason. He's the person that everybody's saying will be the number 1 pick. And I think he realized that. I think he knows this is a marathon, not a sprint.
It's just insane for me to consider him after 1 year of starting going into the NFL draft. I mean, look at the recent trajectories of all these different quarterbacks, whether it be Quinn Ewers, who still contemplated going back to college football, Carson Beck, Garrett Nussmeier, Jaden Daniels. Shit, let's dial it back and talk about Joe Burrow. All of these quarterbacks had to come back another year just to make the case, because there's a lot of people are gonna put a mark on you for certain things. Like, let's say they do lose against Ohio State in week 1. That's going to be considered a blemish whenever you're looking at the scouting report. Now, I mean, yeah, he could go on a 11-game win streak following it and have an entirely, fantastic season. But there's always going to be something that you're going to have to prove to the doubters. And I feel like if you give them more tape to look at, it's going to be harder to discredit you in this instance. Talking about quarterbacks more, Alabama, Kalen DeBoer took the stage today, and Kalen said if the quarterback battle ended today and the season was tomorrow, he would put Ty Simpson in. However, as of right now, all 3 quarterbacks are still currently up for grabs for that starting job. What's your take on that? And then do you think this could be him concealing it? Is he honest? How do you feel?
I think Ty Simpson not being at SEC Media Day tells me all I need to know.
We talked about that coming into here, too.
Bro, you don't have your quarterback at SEC Media Day?
That's your CEO.
So, the kid Austin Mack that transferred in from Washington, some familiarity, that's what Kellen DeBoer came from. He probably knows the offense in a sense. Doesn't have any experience. Keelan Russell, who was a really, really good quarterback out of Dallas, Texas, went to Duncanville High School, threw to the number 1 receiver in the country, Decorian Moore. I've been hearing really good things about him, and I do think he's going to be really good at some point whenever he does get his shot. You telling me you got a true freshman in a quarterback battle with Ty Simpson? So, in my mind, I don't think Bama is really a team that people should be looking at as one of the top teams in the SEC. If you still today, we less than a month away from fall camp.
Bro, yeah.
You telling me today you still are not sure who will be behind center Labor Day weekend? That's very alarming, especially when you talk about the University of Alabama. If we're talking about Missouri, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, okay, I get it. It's the University of Alabama, bro.
It's a standard. Yeah.
It's a standard. So
Right.
I think that's very alarming coming out of Alabama. Now, they got some really good players around. Whoever the quarterback's going to be, they got some really good players around them. Jam Miller. He's going to be one of the better running backs in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Ryan Williams, who is the best receiver in the SEC.
By far.
They got a solid offensive line. You got really good players on defense coming back. Damani Jackson, Lawson at linebacker, Big Keenan at D tackle, Sab at the safety position. They got some good players coming back on defense, but we all know this is a quarterback-driven sport. And if you don't have a guy at that quarterback position that can make plays and that could control the offense and have guys rally around him, it's going to be tough. And last year was the worst season Alabama they had in what they said 8 to 10 years.
The entire Saban era.
Yeah, and that's not fair to put on Kellen DeBoer because that's year 1.
The instant judgment.
It's year 1. And look, they had some good moments last year. But there's some bad moments.
He did.
There's some bad moments.
Vandy, it was horrible.
Yeah. So I think the pressure is on, and I think if they can get by this season with 9 wins, and you get a couple wins against, I don't know.
I mean, LSU would be a big one.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get if you can get 1 or 2 wins against a top 10 opponent, I think that can keep him in good graces with the AD and the fan base.
Because last year you got the LSU victory. Game days here.
But the thing about the game last year against LSU,
you got Jalen Miller.
But LSU wasn't looked at as one of the top dogs in the SEC.
They weren't.
So it's a good win because it's a rival game. But nobody looked at it and said, that's a hell of a win by Kellen DeBoer.
LSU was in that mid-tier. They weren't top by any means.
Not a Georgia game start the season. But what we found out about Georgia, their defense wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be. So, but again, that's year 1, bro. That's year 1. So I'm going to give him some grace.
And the thing that is interesting to me is the win totals. You got Alabama at, I think, 9.5. They're projected, at least per Vegas, to have double-digit wins. Meanwhile, South Carolina is projected to have 7. It's like I don't understand how you're gonna give South Carolina 7, but then you're gonna give Alabama a potential 10-win season. I don't think that they're like this in terms of levels. I feel like if anything, it would be like this. I'm not gonna put them above them yet because I feel like they still have some things to iron out as well, especially because that schedule is gonna be hell. Talking about schedules too, they were looking at the strengths of schedules at least per ESPN analytics. LSU is at number 11, so hey, it could be a interesting year at least in that regard. However, Florida number 1, Vandy number 2. Why? Like, bro, that seems unfair. Why give them that? Why not give Texas the number 1 strength of schedule and Georgia or something? Like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah, Florida is definitely in for a gauntlet schedule. But like Billy Napier said on X, spot the ball. Spot the ball, bro. Now the good thing in his favor is some of them tough games, or a lot of his tough games are at home in the swamp. So he's gonna have that to his advantage because everybody knows that's one of the top 3, top 4 places to play it in the country.
Yep.
So I think Billy Napier is embracing it, and I can't wait to see what he's going to see when he comes to the podium at 1 o'clock.
And the swamp is rough, dog, because LSU walked in there last year, got thwapped, and lost every bit of hope that you thought you had that season. It'll be interesting. Let's talk college football playoff real quick before we hop out of here. I think 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. You're going to see Billy Napier. We'll be covering that, breaking it down, giving you some insight. But Greg Sankey talked about the college football playoff expansion, and he said 2 things that are really interesting to me. The first one was saying if we can't agree, it'll stay to 12. If we can't iron out this 16-team format, then we're just going to keep it how it is right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, in terms of if they were to push it to 16 and expand further, the SEC coaches are favoring a 5-11 format, which is the 5 conference champions, highest ranked, then the 11 at large. And I don't think that's the model with the 4 SEC teams automatically given seeding. And then Jordan Rogers earlier this morning on our interview was talking about how, look, there's a potential for like 6 SEC teams to even get into this huge playoff now. So why give them automatic bids? Why put them in that situation? Talk about that, the playoff expansion, and how you think this should go as we're getting kind of closer to a decision.
I like it at 12 teams. I really do. If they do push it to 16 teams, I want to see what's the plan for the format, who's going to have a bye, how many SEC teams get in, how many Big Ten teams. I just want to know what the criteria is going to be if they expand it to 16 teams. But I'm cool with the 12 teams. I really enjoyed the 12 team playoff last year. I think you still can get some Cinderella stories in there.
Yeah,
you know, because the SMU was in there last year, right? They got blew out. But I like seeing teams like they get in there and have a possible chance to make a run. So they're going to have to figure out the criteria part. If they figure that part out and it makes sense, I'm cool with it. If not, keep it at 12 teams and I'm good with it.
What do you think they should do? Should they vote with people? Should they look at analytics like the NFL and have like point systems and statistical tiebreakers? Or how are we doing this? Because the human error element sometimes does play into account. I'm
not a big analytical guy. In certain situations, yeah, I'm cool with going with the analytics, but sometimes, man, let's put our thinking caps on it. Let's do what makes sense. Does it make sense to push it to 16 teams? And if you say it does make sense, tell me why and give me a formula. If you think it doesn't make sense to push it to 16 teams, tell me why and give me some reasons that makes sense why we should push it to 16 teams. If you can get about 8 to 10 people in a room that understands college football, that's been around it, that has evolved with the times, right? I think you can come up with a good decision if you should keep it at 12 or expand it to 16. But I wouldn't just base that decision off of analytics.
Yeah, I feel like it would be good to kind of have a give and take because sometimes, though, you got to factor in the human bias. And then also there's another thing. It's like, who's going to be sitting here watching all these games? Now we're going to have a situation where, like, there's regional representatives. Like, okay, cool, I'm going to rep the Big Ten. I'm going to rep the SEC. I'm going to rep the Big 12, yada, yada, yada. I would support something like that because at times it does kind of feel like the bias creeps in. And that's hard with the human element. You're always going to have things like that. So they're going to have to put that pride and check it at the door whenever they walk into their meeting room. But I think that's going to be one of the key elements into how you're going to expand the playoff is how do you make sure that everybody that gets in has a fair shot? Yeah. Because that's going to be pivotal. What you thinking about the playoffs, bro? What would you do? You're the commissioner right now, 12 or 16. Come on, make a decision.
I'm almost a little bit in favor of the 16, man. I like G said, the Cinderella stories, that is important, but man, for these small schools, like I do believe that they deserve their chance, but for them to come in and get dog walked while they have real contender schools getting left out, like I don't know, something about that I just don't sit right with me. I would like to see Cinderella's get in while having some more contenders also in that picture.
If it does expand to 16 teams, it's going to allow coaches in the SEC to make sure that their job is safe. Because now you can afford to lose 2, possibly 3 games a year.
Especially if they're SEC quality contending opponents.
Yeah, so that's gonna make a lot of guys have some job security if that does happen. So I bet you any amount of money that all the SEC coaches are in favor of it going to 16 teams.
I'd imagine. And then I want to know this too. Do you have a home field advantage playoff game when you have these type of opportunities?
Yeah, for sure.
So we got a playoff game in Death Valley potentially.
I would love that.
Riddle me this now.
They did it last year.
LSU goes up north. How do you think that's going to happen? How do you think that's going to factor in?
I mean, it just depends on the season. It's just like Tennessee had to go to Ohio State.
Are you worried about that? A southern team going into the north.
That's just like when
Tennessee
the Saints
and Ohio State.
That's just like when the Saints go to the playoffs. We always worry about will they have to go to Philly? Will they have to go to what's another good team that's up north? Minnesota in the Dome. Detroit is in the Dome. Green Bay. We worry about that every year. If we don't get the home field advantage, and it go all the way back to when Sean Payton was here, when we was consistently getting to the playoffs, we was always worried about do we have to go to a cold weather spot, and that was going to always affect us. Now Sean Payton ended up getting the monkey off his back when he went to Philly that year when Chip Kelly was the head coach and got a dub, but that's the only win I can remember in the Saints history where they went in a cold weather game and won in the playoffs. So that would definitely be a factor for LSU, especially when you come up from the South. You're used to playing in 90 to 80 degree weather consistently every Saturday. That's definitely going to be a game changer. You saw it with Tennessee last year.
Yep. And my immediate mind goes to the NFL playoffs.
Although it does get cold in Tennessee. It does get cold in Tennessee. Colder than down here.
The whole Arkansas flashback with LSU with damn soups and the cups and the chicken noodle soup and all this stuff. I don't know how that's gonna work in that playoff environment.
That's the game Perk had the flu
game,
up
Perk.
Before the game, and went out there had the game of his life.
Let Perk 40 saved the game. I ain't gonna lie. Flo be in the chat. Day Tree, what's good? How you doing? We all know Simpson's gonna start next year. All right, yeah, that's what I'm thinking more than likely. Vegas hating on LSU. He thinks they're going to get 10 wins. Vegas projected 9. And then he says, Sunbelt Billy, you need to slow your losing down. Floby. Florida Floby. That's what this guy, I don't know what I'm calling him. Florida Floby right here with Billy Napier. We're going to get all the intel for you here. He's about to hit the podium in about 8 minutes. We're going to get out, walk down, get some information for you. SEC Media Days. Let's recap. One sentence, immediate takeaway. Mine, craziness. From the traffic to the parking, a lot of interviews, enjoyed it. A lot of coverage. I think we did 3 hours. Like 4 to 5 hours of coverage, actually. Running all over the place, seeing all kind of people. So that's going to be my one sentence summarize of this entire week.
I will go with overreacting.
Yeah,
a lot of people have been overreacting to certain players, certain programs, and not really looking at the whole grand scheme of things, looking at the roster, looking at who's returning. They going off of recent history instead of really diving into how good this team really going to be. And I think a lot of people in the media have been overreacting. Not everybody, but a good bit of them.
It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out at the end of the year.
Man, I'm going to piggyback off of what both of y'all said. I think it's been a mix of exciting and crazy at the same time. I mean, it's cool seeing all the different people, the coaches, the players. The city's beautiful in itself, a lot of stuff to do. But at the same time, people are overreacting. I mean, seeing Arch Manning with that media crowd.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I thought it was Michael Jackson reincarnated.
Yeah, I was about to hit the damn moonwalk up there,
I
man.
wanted you to say the line, man, because that is a perfect description of the dude. Like, oh my goodness. I feel bad for the other Texas players. I guess they're like, oh, I'm chilling. But man, like Archman, he must have 50 people crowding around him. These other dudes, man, they just chilling. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope Arch can live up to the hype, man, because he got the whole country behind him, I guess.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, it's unfortunate because if he doesn't have a outstanding season, they're gonna have some people that's gonna crucify him.
Oh, what?
And that's just unfortunate. And I think he knows that. I think he knows what situation he's going into. I can see him having a season equivalent to what Garrett Nussmeyer had last year.
Me too.
You're gonna see some games where you're like, God damn, man, Art's tough, man. He can make all the throws, bro. He gonna be a number one pick one day. And then I can see him have some games when you say to yourself, the hell was he thinking about right now? But again, experience is the best teacher, and I think he got to go through that this year to become the best version of himself.
I liked that comment that he ended his presser with yesterday when he was saying he hadn't proved anything yet. He's just ready to go out there and play. He's excited for the ball to start. And I mean, that's a humble approach. I know he's got that internal confidence. I'm sure that he's not going to just put that out there for bulletin board material, but I feel like he's got a good head on his shoulders, got a good support system. It'll be interesting. SEC Media Days, been a great week. Appreciate everybody for tuning in for the coverage. Stay tuned. Got some more stuff coming. Y'all have a good one.